Right, good morning everyone. We are going to start with a new chapter, and this will be basically in your chemistry, and this is a chapter on acids, bases and salts. Okay, so do pay attention, and let's kind of finish this off. Okay, acids, bases and salts. Okay, so what are acids, bases and salt? Any kind of a chemical compound can be basically divided into these three. Okay, so any chemical compound any chemical compound can be any chemical compound can be divided into acids, bases or salts. Can be divided into acids, bases or salts. So any kind of chemical compound can be divided into either acids or bases or salts. Okay. Now before we understand what are acids, bases and salts, we need to understand how do we identify them. Okay. There is a very important aspect that how do we actually identify acids, bases and salts. So for this purpose we take indicators. So what are indicators basically? What are indicators? Indicators are basically dyes which have certain colors, and they tend to change their colors. Okay, indicators are basically dyes which have certain colors and they tend to change their colors. So they tend to change their colors with acids and bases. Okay, so how do we identify? First of all, we need to know how do we identify acids and bases. So it is easy to know, or rather we will in due course of time understand how do we define an acid or how do we define a base. But first of all, we need to understand how do we identify the acids and base. So we identify acids and base by means of the dyes that we use. Okay, so dyes are basically compounds with certain colors of their own, and when you get these colors, so they continuously keep on changing their colors. Now indicators are basically dyes, and dyes have certain colors and these tend to change their colors. These acids and bases tend to change their colors. So the first thing that we have, most of us are already aware of, is litmus. Okay, now litmus is either taken as solution or it is taken as a paper. Okay, now where is this that we are getting this litmus from? The litmus is basically an extract. It is an extract of lichens. Okay, they belong to the kingdom Thallophyta. Okay, so it is basically a plant species. They belong to the kingdom Thallophyta and they are basically lichens. So we are not studying biology, however, just to know where is this that we are getting from. So litmus more often or not is also known as a natural indicator. We will also understand certain other indicators as well. Okay, but first of all, the most widely used dye or the most widely used indicator is litmus. We use litmus either in the form of a solution or we use litmus in the form of a paper. Okay, so litmus, if you look at its natural color basically is purple. However, it is either made red or blue. Okay, now how do we make litmus paper or litmus solutions? Very easy. Okay, so first of all, let's understand what is the reaction with base. So when we add litmus, okay, to acid, blue litmus turns red. And when we add litmus to base, red litmus turns blue. Okay, so when we add litmus, I'm sorry, I think a little missing. Okay, so when we add litmus to an acid, blue litmus turns red. When we add litmus to a base, red litmus turns blue. Okay, so that's how litmus behaves. Okay, so this is basically a natural indicator. Why? Because we are obtaining litmus from lichens, and lichens are basically a species of plants or Thallophyta species. Okay, So this is basically an extract that we obtain. So how do we, so in spite of its color being purple, how do we make blue and red litmus, okay, whether in solution or whether in paper? See, it's easy to make red. If I treat litmus, it becomes red with acid, it becomes blue with base, okay. So whenever we have a compound, let's say it's a compound, okay, and it's taken in a test tube, so we can dip both the papers, litmus papers we must have all seen. So we can dip both the papers, we can dip the red litmus paper and we can dip the blue litmus paper in it, okay. So whichever changes its color, so if it becomes, if the blue litmus paper becomes red, then definitely it is an acid. If the red litmus paper becomes blue, then definitely it will become a base. So one of the papers is going to change its colors depending on whether the compound is whether an acid or a base, okay. And we can also do one thing, we can also apply litmus solution, okay. We can also give litmus solution. When we pour litmus solution in this compound, accordingly it will change its color. So if we pour blue litmus solution, it will change to red. If we pour red litmus solution, it will change to blue, okay. So that's how litmus is, and it's a very important in labs we generally use for the first test whether a compound is an acid or a base. The first test will be the litmus test, okay. So litmus test is to distinguish between acids and bases. Now there are two more types of indicators which we generally use to detect whether it is an acid or a base. There are numerous types of indicators I'm sorry, but we are trying to talk about the ones which are most extensively used, okay. So you can take a snapshot of the same. All right, we are going to continue with acids, bases and salts, okay. So what we were doing was acids, bases and salts, okay. Now in acids, bases and salts, we were trying to understand what is basically the role of different indicators, okay. Now what indicators we were learning was, the first thing that we were basically trying to learn. So indicators are basically what? They are dyes of particular colors. Why is it getting stuck? 1 second, let me just arrange for this one. Okay, so indicators are what? Indicators are basically dyes which tend to change their color, characteristic color, which tends to change their characteristic color when treated with acids or bases, okay. So one of the first indicators that we saw was basically litmus, and litmus is a natural indicator, okay. So as we saw, litmus is basically a natural indicator. Why? Because it's derived from a plant species, that is lichens and lichens basically, and they are basically Thallophyta species, okay. So litmus is basically an extract which is drawn from these plants, okay, and it's a natural indicator. Now litmus has a natural purple color, and litmus can be obtained both in form of paper and in the form of a solution, okay. So if we treat litmus with acids, what happens? Blue litmus, whether solution or paper, turns red. Blue litmus turns red. And if we treat with bases, red litmus basically turns blue. Red litmus turns blue, okay. So if we treat litmus with acids, the blue litmus will turn red, and if we treat with bases, the red litmus will turn blue, okay. Now what do we have other indicators as? Okay, now we will talk about synthetic indicators. Now what do we mean by synthetic indicators? Synthetic indicators are basically indicators which are not natural, okay, which are basically manufactured in labs, okay. They are not natural, so they are not natural products, they are basically manufactured in labs, okay. So here we are talking about indicators. Now indicators can not only be in the form of dyes, they can also be in the form of olfactory indicators, which we will learn in due course of time. For the time being, we are just understanding or trying to understand indicators which are in the form of dyes, okay. So now we have synthetic indicators. What do we mean by synthetic indicators? Synthetic indicators are basically which are manufactured in the lab. Now in synthetic indicators we have two types of indicators. One is basically methyl orange. Methyl orange, as the name itself suggests, it must be ORA. Methyl orange. Okay, methyl orange indicator, as the name itself suggests, the natural color is orange. Okay, the natural color here is orange. The natural color is orange. In acids, this orange color will change into red. Okay, this orange color will basically change into red, and in bases, this color will change into yellow. Okay, this color will basically change into yellow. So methyl orange in acids is going to give a red color, and in bases it's going to give a yellow color. Okay, the next indicator that we have is phenol. I always make a mistake in the spelling here. Phenolphthalein indicator. Okay, now again phenolphthalein indicator, it is in acids. In acids it remains colorless. In acids it remains colorless, while in bases it becomes pink. Okay, in acids it remains colorless, and in bases it becomes pink. So these are certain dyes which are there. Okay, these are certain dyes. One of them very commonly used is nitramous. The others that are prepared in the lab and also used frequently are methyl orange and phenolphthalein. Now apart from these indicators which we normally use, there are certain other indicators as well. For example, there is an indicator called turmeric. Turmeric is also a natural indicator. Natural indicator. In Hindi we call it haldi. Okay, turmeric. The solution of turmeric we all know is yellow. Okay, yellow, and turmeric basically is yellow in color, and acids will not have it, it will remain yellow in acids. Acids it remains the same generally. Okay, but in bases this color changes to red. In bases, when we treat it with bases, this color changes to red. You must have noticed when you are washing clothes, or your mom is washing clothes. So if there is a stain on the cloth, okay, white cloth or whatever color cloth it is, okay, if there's a stain on the cloth, and if there's basically all foods that we consume will have turmeric in it. Okay, so let's say there's a curry that has fallen on a cloth. Okay, so obviously there will be a yellow color deposition. The first color that you will notice will be yellow. Okay, so let's say some sabji or some curry has fallen on the cloth. So the first stain that we get on the cloth is yellow. Now when we are washing this cloth with a soap, or rather when we are applying the soap or the detergent on it, you will notice that the color changes to red. Okay, why? Because soap is basically a base. Okay, and turmeric is an indicator, so the color changes to red. For some time the color will become red before it vanishes. Okay, before it vanishes with the soap solution. The first time you apply soap on a cloth which is stained with any kind of your food stuff which has turmeric in it, which has a yellow stain on it, okay, due to turmeric, when you apply the soap, it changes to red. So that's an indicator. Okay, so it's a natural indicator again. We have an indicator called as red cabbage. Okay, we must have seen the red cabbage species. Okay, so red cabbage, when we basically draw an extract out of it, when we draw an extract, that is known as red cabbage extract. And obviously since it is red cabbage extract, so this color will be red, this color will be red. Okay, so this color red remains red in an acid. So in an acid it remains as red. In an acid it remains as red. However, in a base, this red color becomes green. Okay, this red color becomes green. Not very frequently used, but still we need to know about it. Okay, so red cabbage is basically a species that we consume. It's a type of a vegetable that we consume. Red cabbage, when we draw an extract, okay, out of it, when we actually in a mixie or whatever we draw an extract out of it. Okay, so this is basically red in color, and this extract, basically the liquid form of it, the paste form of it, okay, this becomes, when you treat with an acid, it becomes red, and when you treat with a base it becomes green. Okay, so that's how this is also basically natural indicator. If I term this is also a natural indicator. Turmeric is also a natural indicator. Okay, so these were certain things. We have a lot of flowers as well which are natural indicators, not required, but these are some things that we need to know about indicators. Okay, now there is another type of indicator. These were basically dyes which have their colors. Okay, whether we talk about litmus, whether we talk about phenolphthalein, whether we talk about methyl orange, red cabbage, turmeric, all these, whether they are natural or synthetic, whether they are natural or man-made, they all have their characteristic colors which are changing as per treatment with an acid or a base. However, if we happen to use olfactory indicators, okay, now what are olfactory indicators? Olfactory indicators basically are indicators which change their smell, which change their characteristic smell. Okay, olfactory indicators. Olfactory basically means smell, something concerned with the smell of it. Okay, so these are characterized by their smells. These are indicators which are characterized primarily by the smell that they process. Okay, these were all characterized by the color that they have, and these are characterized by the smell. So one of the olfactory indicators very commonly used is onion. Okay, we all know that onion has a very characteristic and a very strong smell. Okay, now when you are drawing an onion extract, okay, so if you draw an onion extract by, you know, a mixie or whatever, so this is an onion extract and we all are very aware it's a very strong smell. Okay, so onion extract basically has a very strong smell, characteristic smell. Now you dip a cloth in that onion extract. Okay, so a cloth, any cloth, you dip it in this onion extract, you dip it in the onion extract, so obviously there will be a very strong smell that the cloth will have. And when you dip it in a base, the smell vanishes. Okay, so now there will be no smell. So if after dipping a cloth in onion extract, you are dipping it in a base, the smell almost vanishes. The very strong smell of onion almost goes off. Okay, now if you dip it in an acid, you will notice that the smell remains. The smell basically remains. If you dip it in an acid, the smell remains. Okay, so the second thing that we have is vanilla. We all are aware of this, right? Vanilla has a very sweet smell. It is used in a lot of food stuffs that we have. Okay, so vanilla has a characteristic sweet smell as well. The same treatment if we do with base, the smell vanishes. Okay, and if we treat with an acid, the smell remains. Same as this the onion extract. Okay, so very quickly, if we kind of summarize what we have learned about indicators. First things, acids and base, definitely we will understand in detail what are they, how they behave with different compounds, what is it that are the distinguishing features of both of them. But the first thing that we need to know about acids and bases is how do we identify them. So first of all, compounds can be segregated into either acids, bases or salts. Now chemical compounds can be segregated into these. So acids and bases, how do we identify them? By means of different indicators. Now some are natural, some are synthetic, some are naturally derived and some are man-made. So the ones which are natural, okay, we'll talk about if we talk about the dyes, okay, some are dyes, okay, some are dyes which change their colors, and some are olfactory which change their smell, characteristic smell. Okay, so the ones which are dyes, among them litmus is a natural indicator. Okay, amongst them litmus and turmeric is a natural one. However, litmus is most widely used in labs. Litmus again is derived from lichens, species of Thallophyta. Okay, it has a characteristic natural purple color. However, when we dip it in an acidic solution, in an acid basically, it changes its color from blue to red, and in a base it changes its color from red to blue. That's about litmus. Okay, it comes both in the form of a paper as well as in the form of a solution. Next we have methyl orange indicator. As the name itself suggests, orange, so obviously its color will be orange. So methyl orange, when we treat it with an acid, it changes its color to red. When we treat it with a base, it changes its color to yellow. It is not a natural indicator, it is a man-made indicator or a synthetic indicator. Again, we have phenolphthalein, okay. In acids, it remains colorless, and in bases, its color changes to pink. Another indicator that we can use in the form of a dye is turmeric. So turmeric basically has a yellow color. Turmeric solution will obviously have yellow color, and when we happen to treat it with a base, the color changes to red, which is very much evident when we wash clothes, okay. Then we have the red cabbage extract. Red cabbage, we have all seen, mostly cabbages are green, but there are some species which are red as well. So this red cabbage, we need to derive an extract out of it. Obviously the color of the red cabbage will be red. When we treat it with an acid, it changes its color to red. In acid it remains red, rather, it doesn't change its color, and in base it turns its color to green, okay. Talking about olfactory indicators, the ones that tend to change their smell, okay. In case of olfactory indicators, what do we have? Olfactory indicators are so we know that onion and vanilla have very strong smells, okay, and that's one reason why they are used in preparation of foodstuffs. So onion, basically when we dip a cloth, onion we put it in a mixie and derive an extract out of it. When we put a cloth in it, obviously it will be having a very strong smell. When we dip it in a base, the smell vanishes. However, in an acid the smell remains, okay. Similarly, vanilla extract, when we dip it in a base, a cloth again dipped in vanilla extract, when we dip it in a base, the smell vanishes. However, in the acid the smell remains, okay. So these are basically olfactory indicators. So one of the questions in your NCERT books is that we have 3 test tubes basically, okay. One is filled with a base, one is filled with water, one is filled with base, and one is filled with an acid. Now you are given one litmus paper, okay, one litmus paper. How will you identify all these 3? You have not been told which one is a base, which one is an acid, and which one is water. So first of all, you will keep on dipping it in all of them. The one which acquires, the one which changes color to blue, okay. If the color acquired by the litmus paper is blue, okay, red to blue happens in the case of a base, okay. So there is how we will. So first of all, we will change the color to, let's say, blue, and the one which turns blue to red obviously will be an acid, and the one which doesn't change any color, obviously water is a neutral compound, it is neither an acid nor a base, okay. So that will be water. So these are certain characteristics that we have about different indicators. On all these indicators, we can just identify whether the compound is an acid or a base, but we cannot identify how strong it is as an acid or how strong is it as a base, because it is just giving a change in color or a change in smell, whatever applies, okay. So in that case, if we need to identify what is the strength of the acid or the base, how strong or how weak the acid or base is, we need to use. Alright, we are going to continue with acids, bases and salts. Just one moment while I fix this. Okay, so we are going to continue with acids, bases and salts, and as we talked about acids, bases and salts, about how to identify them by using different types of indicators, okay. Now we are going to talk about what are acids, okay. So once we are done with the identification, we need to talk about what are acids. Now a very general definition of acids is anything which has a sour taste. This is not the actual definition, but generally acids have a sour taste. It doesn't mean that you have to test an acid to confirm. So all acids are not testable, okay. All acids are not healthy to taste, okay. So for example, some acids, like let's say we have lemon, okay, lemon juice, that is basically having a sour taste, so basically it is an acid. So mostly acids are sour in taste. It doesn't mean that we have to test or rather taste an acid to identify whether it is an acid or not. That's not the process, but generally we have seen that acids have a sour taste, okay. Now acids basically are those substances which have a sour taste. So two things that we have so far gathered from the knowledge of acids is, one, that it has a sour taste, and the other one is that it turns blue litmus red. It turns blue litmus red, okay. Now many fruits are sour in taste. For example, we have raw mangoes. Mostly those fruits which are raw mangoes are basically sour in taste. Okay, then we have lemon, then we have oranges. Okay, oranges, we have lemon, then we have oranges. Okay, then we have lemon, oranges. What do we have? Then we have tamarind. Okay, tamarind is also having a sour taste. Okay, we have milk, which basically becomes curd. Okay, milk which basically becomes curd. Okay, from milk, that is also having a sour taste. Okay, dahi, which we say. So these are certain compounds which have a sour taste, and obviously they have a sour taste because they have acid content in them. Okay, all right. Now what do we have in acids? So basically, if you look into it, acids can be either organic, okay, or mineral. Okay, organic or mineral. Okay, so let's understand this. Organic acids are the acids which are basically acids which are derived from living things like plants and animals. So acids which are derived from plants and animals. Okay, so what are these acids? So if we look into it, one of the acids is acetic acid, very commonly used. Okay, acetic acid is basically nothing but vinegar, and which we use in making various kind of foodstuffs in our house. Okay, which we use in foodstuffs and to make pickles, for example. Okay, to make pickles we use it in vinegar is used in these. Okay, then another example is citric acid. Citric acid is basically present in citrus fruits. Okay, citrus fruits means the ones which have a very sour taste. Okay, so as we have already seen, raw mangoes or lemon or etc. So all these are basically citrus fruits, and they are present in them. Lemons, oranges, etc. All these are citrus fruits. Any fruit or any substance which tastes sour will have citric acid in it. The things that we consume. Okay. Now another one we have is lactic acid. Just remember, whenever you have this lactic, okay, it is basically coming from lactose, which is a kind of sugar that milk makes. Okay, so from that lactic acid is made. So this is always something which is going to be milk related. So from milk generally is not sour, but the curd that we make out of milk is sour. So this is curd from milk, that is sour. Okay, this is basically sour taste. So here we have lactic acid, which is curd or milk that is made. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, we have tartaric acid. This is also a form of an organic acid. This is present in let's say tamarind. Tamarind means imli. Okay, it is present in tamarind. Then it is present in unripe grapes. Okay, unripe grapes. Then where is it present? Tartaric acid will be present in these things. Okay, then we have oxalic acid. It is present in tomatoes. Oxalic acid is present in tomatoes. You will find doctors basically suggesting people who generally tend to have kidney stones not to eat tomatoes, not to consume tomatoes. The reason why they tell them not to do so is because their kidneys are having a tendency. Their kidneys basically have a tendency to produce stones, and stones are basically aggravated by the content of oxalic acid that we are consuming. So that's the reason they are told not to consume too much of tomatoes, or rather not consume it at all. So oxalic acid is basically present in tomatoes. Okay, these were certain fruits and vegetables that contain acids. Since we mentioned here that both plants and animals have these acids, so let's take an example of an acid which is present in animals. So formic acid. When you are stung by, it's basically present in ant sting. Okay, you have these red ants. Okay, and if they bite you or rather sting on you, what you feel that itching sensation, or you feel that a little pain. Okay, Why do you do that? Because why do you feel that? Because they have released formic acid in you. Okay, so formic acid in very small quantities have been released in you, and it's basically ant sting, and that's the reason your body responds by that itching sensation that you have. Okay, they do it in their defense. Okay, they do it in their defense. Actually, it's a very small quantity to form, or rather, formic acid any which ways is a very weak acid. It will not have any very serious effects on the body. But again, that itching sensation is produced. So if we take an example, formic acid is basically present in ant sting. So these are certain kind of acids which are organic acids. The reason why we call them organic acids is because they are present in organisms which are either plants or animals. Okay. Now talk about mineral acids. What are mineral acids? These are basically derived. These are basically derived from the minerals present in earth. From the minerals which are present in earth, which are present in earth. Okay. Now these are harmless acids almost. Okay. We all consume vinegar, although we should not consume too much, but these are more or less harmless acids. We all consume fruits, absolutely fine. We all consume vegetables. Even if you are bit, or even if you are stung by an ant, it's not going to make any difference in the lives, right? Yes, a certain itching sensation. We all consume these acids. However, it doesn't produce any disastrous effects on the health. In fact, it is good to an extent. Okay. However, these mineral acids are dangerous. Okay. These are the acids which are basically dangerous. The ones which are very strong acids are hydrochloric acid, which is basically HCl. Okay. Minerals of the earth, chlorine. Okay. And then we have nitric acid, which is basically HNO3. Okay. Then we have sulfuric acid, which is basically H2SO4. Okay. These are the acids which are dangerous. Okay. Which can produce burns in your skin. Obviously, they should not be consumed at all. Okay. Even if touched, okay, the concentrated forms, especially the concentrated forms. Now, what do we mean by concentrated forms? When their concentration in water, these are basically in solution with water. Okay, they are always taken in aqueous solutions, in aqueous mediums. So when their percentage is too high in the solution that they are taken in, that's called concentrated. Okay, so generally we should be taking them in dilute forms. Okay, for experiments and all. Okay, we should always be considering dilute forms, because in concentration forms they can be dangerous. Okay, they are dangerous in dilute forms as well for the body, so they cannot be consumed. These are mineral acids, and these are very strong acids, Okay, so I would say these are the strongest of all acids that you have. Okay, so these are mineral acids. Okay, and we should be very careful. They should be handled with utmost care. Very very dangerous to our health. Okay, so all mineral acids are basically dangerous. One exception that we have is carbonic acid. Okay, this is also a mineral acid. Carbonic acid is basically H2CO3, but this is a weak acid. In spite of being a mineral acid, this happens to be a weak acid. Okay, so we need to be very careful. Mostly we need to use their dilute forms. Okay, and it can be dangerous. Okay, so acids, basically what we have understood here is acids are sour in taste. Okay, acids have a property of turning blue litmus solution or paper to red. Okay, and they can be classified into organic and mineral. Organic are the ones which are prepared by different plants and animals. Okay, organic acids are more or less healthy to consume, and even if they see, I won't say that an ant sting is healthy to consume, but even if they get into our body, they are not going to cause major harm. Okay, so organic acids are more or less harmless, but the mineral acids are the one which are prepared by the minerals of the earth. Okay, now the minerals of the earth, the hydrochloric acid, nitric acid or sulfuric acid, these are basically minerals of the earth. Okay, now you will say that in our stomach we have hydrochloric acid. Yes, we have hydrochloric acid in our stomach, and it is one of the strongest acids. However, the entire digestive system is designed in a way, we have mucus linings in our entire digestive system. These mucus linings, okay, prevent the effect of HCl on the sophisticated and the soft tissues that we have inside our digestive system. Okay, so even if we are taking acids, we need to be very careful about them because they can be very detrimental to the health. Okay, so acids, organic acids can be consumed. We can be very much assured that their dilute forms are absolutely harmless. Okay, but mineral acids can be dangerous, and we need to be very careful while using them. Okay, you can take a snapshot of the same.